Right. So out of character in context, indeed the title. I'm looking. Oh. First, a bit about myself. I'm also one of the fellow ADHD people. I've studied first IT, then I went to social research. I've been to professionally markets research, data visualization, and data management. I have interests in psychology, games, D&D. I'm also playing Curse of Strat at the moment with my friends. And I'm also an entrepreneur in the region of HR, and I built my company Bright Match with the intention of using tabletop RPGs in order to make sure that people are able to connect better with each other and able to communicate in a way that is long lasting and that is efficient towards collaboration. First of all, I'll start a bit with the inspirations. So I'm a sociologist. So of course my inspirations come from here, and three of the topics that I learn in school, which is really nice. First of all is Goffman. He talks a bit about the front self and the and the backstage self. So you're always a different kind of person when you're in a front, in a different stage, in a different context, than you are at yourself, at your home. You behave different, and depending on the context, you will behave in a way that the context is appropriate. Same is apparent for role theory. Excuse me for my English. I'm a Belgian, so it's okay. Okay. But for every different role that you have, you will have a different kind of personality. You're not the same person when you're a student as when you're a friend or when you're a teacher or when you're a parent. You behave different. You are more authoritarian or more calm, more listening, all different kinds. In the last, you also have different kind of personality depending on which group you're in. There's a lot of groups in here that are teachers or researchers. So this is our in group, and then all of them out of it are the out groups. And so we have this for everything. We have this for everyone from Britain. We have this for people who play D&D. Our in group here is ADHD. All of different things, and depending on if you're in the in group or in the out group, you will behave differently. Also, psychology, depending on which context you are in, again, different traits will activate. There's a lot of overlap between the psychology and the sociology because they actually all aim at the same points, yet they tackle it from a different angle. And so different traits activate themselves. So if my house is on fire, I have to be dominant and I have to be direct and make sure things are fixed. It's different, yeah. Also, person situation debates. This is something that has been debated in psychology a lot, that they say there's a fixed personality, but then the others say your personality is dependent on the situation. And I'm sure it's a mix of both. Lastly, also social cognitive, depending on what you do and who you are with, you grow and you learn, and your pattern of personality becomes a thing. So based on like these inspirations, and also I'm a fond gamer. I love playing D&D. I love playing together with my friends. I had the vision to make sure that there's a research part to this and that there's a business side to this. So the research part is actually to explore how the backstage self compares to the front self within a professional context, because we all know it. If we are at home, we are a different person than we are at work. And depending on the context in your work, you will also behave different depending on who the people are around you. So I want to see if we put people in a new context, how are they going to behave? And is this something matching with the company culture or not? Second, also, this is also interesting because if we want to place people with new people, it's important to have the people get along. And so we also want to educate them on how to make sure that they are able to communicate on a way that is understandable for the recipients. Business, talent acquisition process optimization. There's a lot of problems in the recruiting sector at the moment. Namely that, for me, most of the one is that if you do recruitment process, you talk with HR, you talk with your team leads, you talk with the direction, and who haven't you talked with your colleagues that you're gonna be working with on a daily basis? And it's a bit strange. And so for that reason, I believe implementing tabletop RPGs can be a good way of being an icebreaker and actually feeling for the people, like, is this a match? Can we culturally fit? But also to have data on it, because as we've seen in many of previous research, you can gather data based on a game. And so I've made a process, and this is a very simplified process. But so first we do self-assessments. On self-assessments, I also have a lot of critics, but this is also more part of the personality, is very dependent on the context you're in. So a self-assessment of how do you think you will act in a work context is like iffy. If you have the person in the work context and you can observe it, it's way better. But anyways, for the backstage self, we do the self-assessments, the game, and I will talk a bit more about this later. The game is a 1 or 2 hour game in which the people meet, they play all of the stuff. Then the data analysis, because we are in a professional setting, but also in academic, it's nice to have data that is visual, that is understandable, and that the people can actually do something with it. And of course, the feedback, people have to know what they did, and people have to know if they can improve their communication styles or if some things are good. It's really important to also mention the good things. The instrument I've used for this one is Disk. Many people already know this intuitively. I will give a short explanation on it. There's the 4 colors that you have. You have red, yellow, green, and blue. Red stands for the dominance parts, which is the first of all, nobody is one color specific, and nobody is, if you have, for example, these results, you will not. It's not that you are always these things. This is fluid, and this changes depending on the context you're in. So no necessary to stereotype yourself, but you can identify some of your more common behaviors. Anyways, dominance, people that are very direct, they go to the point, they are competitive, they are result driven. Then you have the influence people, the people that like to talk, they are enthusiastic, they are innovative, they are creative, all of this. They are emotion-centered and also extroverted, so you can also see this, extroverted, introverted, people-oriented or emotions, and task-oriented or rational. Then you also have the stability or steadiness. These are the people that like to have the things nice, clean, calm, enjoying. And lastly, you also have compliance or conscientiousness, the people that want it to be precise, to be concrete, to be precise, to be cautious, to be accurate. And so these are all different kind of behavior styles, and these are all different kinds of communication that you can do to actually say the same thing. And so it's important to realize what the recipient's colors are, even in that moment, to be able to get your message across. Like, for example, if a boss goes to somebody that's very green and very calm, and he goes to her and he says, go and finish the job now, the green person will not appreciate it, and he will, it's not an emotional, you don't keep the person's feelings into account. Same if the green person goes to the boss and asks, hey boss, can I have a minute of your time? I would like to discuss this and this and this. The boss already is busy with so many different things. He wants to continue and he wants to be done. And so this is all a bit stereotypical, but it works, and it's something that's really useful to have in the back of your head to know how to communicate with the different people and in what situations you can and cannot be what you are or not. The game itself, I honestly wish I met Sam already before, because many of the things you say I've also done and I've also been exploring and experimenting with. In the end, I came out with a one-shot murder mystery for 3 to 8 players. It's a D&D without rules or combats to make it easy because it's still in a business perspective. And so I want it to be accessible for everybody. Um, Very important is a common goal to make sure that the people also know that they have to collaborate. And there's also social challenges because as I'm also teaching them about disc, they also get to play with it in the game itself. So it's a murder mystery. And so they meet different people, and some of the people will then be stereotypes of the green and the red. And so they have to communicate on the appropriate way to move forward in the story in the way that they to solve the mystery. I have some example challenges. So for example, the players don't have enough funds to buy necessities. Who approaches and how, and so we can see how they react to it. Um, and we can categorize it so to have actually a qualitative analysis of it. Um, yeah, this is also important to see who approaches and how. It's also a bit more difficult to analyze the green because greens are mostly calm and introverted. So if they talk less, then it's also more difficult to analyze, yet it still gives a good image of how it is. And so in the end, we come to the results in which we have a complete team and we put them on the disk circle and we can see where they are. And depending, so we compare the self-assessment with the observant assessment. And we see how the people in the game, they take up a position and they start forming clusters. Because if you're in a group of 8 people, not every 8 people are gonna interact with each other all the same amounts. They are gonna have clusters with groups. And so you have the innovative group or the creative group, the funny group. You have the ones that make sure that everything is analyzed. You have the head of the chicken, which makes sure that it goes straight. Next to clusters, you can also see more about interpersonal relationships. So you can learn more about who gets along with who and who will have a difficult relationship with who and who has to take care of his communication towards that person. You also learn about the personal flexibility because you see that people are, so for example, this is the boss. And during the game, she takes more up, in her self-assessment, she says she is more a funny kind of boss who talks and who makes jokes, but still leads. In the game, it was very clear she was the true boss, and she didn't show too much, but she talked and she showed that this is what we're gonna have to do, and here we go, and there we go. Lastly, and this is not very visible on the image, is group adaptability. You can also compare the directions that people go together. So you can see if this person and this person, they all went direction of the Y, which is very interesting to see because they're also sitting together and so their behavior adapts towards each other. Practical use, the usage for this at the moment, I'm using it for team buildings to learn companies how to do understanding communication in a fun and engaging way in comparison to team buildings where you go play bowling and half of the people are not sure if they want to stay or not. Now you can do something and you can also learn something that actually matters for your communication with the team to last longer and to be able to solve projects more easily. Furthermore, for talent acquisition, I think it's really important that we learn how the people that we're going to work with for a very, very long time, that we know who they are before we start and that we already had like a snapshot of collaborating in a fun and relaxed way. Lastly, also data analysis. This is really important for making sure that you hire or build teams on a scale so that you also know the strengths of different teams and that you also know which different teams should, for example, have a majority of red people or red dominated people, or who should have more green or yellow. Future goals, as Ian explained, I'm gonna start a new research to identify the cultural profiles and preferences based on tabletop RPGs. So what we're gonna do is check organizational cultural preferences are factors between innovation, aggressiveness, all of the stuff, competitiveness, result-orientedness. And so we're going to see if we can match the candidates with the cultural profile of the companies. And we can see if this also matches during the game. For business, I'm still looking for collaborators, people that are interested in doing this as well and are fascinated by tabletop RPGs and believe that the world of HR can benefit by this. This would be amazing. Also, Casus partners, if anybody has a company, if anybody knows people, this would be amazing. Yeah. If you have any other questions, you can always contact me. I also love to see. Yeah.